Timothy Little writes, does tone wood, or does wood, really matter for electric guitars? Interesting that he stipulates electric guitars because probably more important in an acoustic guitar. You think of some high-end acoustics having a cedar top and Brazilian rosewood back and sides. You can really tell the difference between, say, a Taylor with a cedar top versus a Taylor with a maple top that would just be incredibly bright. One thing that's common with electric guitars is the difference between rosewood or ebony and maple. There is a difference, you know, it's mostly an aesthetic thing and a feel thing rather than it sounds incredibly different. You know, an ebony fingerboard is harder. A rosewood fingerboard is a little softer. A rosewood fingerboard is going to need to be oiled. A maple fingerboard is going to be sealed. Like this is sealed with a level of lacquer. What's implied there is, you know, does it matter if I have a $5,000 guitar with, you know, tone woods and this kind of thing, or should I just buy, you know, a more reasonably priced guitar? It's a hard question to answer because if the money makes no difference, then why not, right? That's like number one. But it's cliche to be like, it's all in the hands, but it really is. The criteria would be, what's your budget? Do you make money playing the guitar? And are you good enough to take advantage of the difference that a more expensive guitar would offer? But the sort of ironic thing about that is that when you're good enough to take advantage of that difference, it doesn't really matter because it's, you know, it's not the plane, it's the pilot, right? And it could make a Hello Kitty guitar sound amazing.
I don't know. All I do is play it.
It reminds me of something I read in the news years ago where Michael Schumacher was late for a flight. He asked the cab driver to get in the passenger seat and he took over to get them to their plane on time, and he's drifting through traffic, heel-toe downshifting. Do you need a professional driver to get you to the airport? Of course not. Does it make a difference? Yes. Is it enough of a difference to justify the cost is really the question, and that's a question that only you can answer. What's next? TK! Tina! What are the best exercises for finger dexterity? That's a common question. The best exercises for finger dexterity aren't exercises for finger dexterity. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's just kind of an anachronism, but years ago people would say, oh, well, do this finger exercise. Which has no musical context or value whatsoever. To warm up your hands, the best thing is not fine muscle movement. You can hurt, you can pull your tendon, get tendinitis. It's absolutely the wrong way to do it, to immediately, first thing in the day, first time you're practicing, to demand that technique of yourself. The best way to physically warm up your hands and get the blood moving in your fingers is to play chords and just like larger movements rather than a really fine muscle movement. Playing songs that you think play something fun. I play like Axis Bold as Love a lot. That kind of thing. I will very often play funk rhythm, so just different patterns of 16th notes. And you can alternate with mutes, so like warm up with whatever songs or just funk exercises is a good way to get the blood flowing. And then with finger dexterity, work towards the techniques you want to use when you play. Practice alternate picking or legato or sweep picking. Sweep arpeggios. Practice it with a metronome, practice a musical context, like choose a key and do all of the sweep arpeggios in G major, all the G major inversions, and then all of the diatonic chords in G major. And then once you're like feeling good and fluid with that, try and like rip it in a solo. What is this last question? Julian. How much marmalade do I have to soak into my guitar for it to sound good? Oh man. How much is too much? Is it possible for it to be too saucy? I guess the question is more like, is it too saucy for your audience? If you're playing and you're just channeling the gods and playing the most saucy thing ever, if your audience is like, then that might be a good indicator that it's too saucy. Just too saucy, people can't handle it. Certainly can be not saucy enough, which is why we're here to begin with, right? The short answer to that would be more sauce is safer than not quite enough sauce. Err on the side of more, my friend.